The Sports Source is brought to you by Fast Frame, with exciting Vols sports prints now available.
You are watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into The Sports Source presented by Bill Hodson Associates. I want to thank you for joining us. Do that every week, but we'll do it off the top of the show this week. You saw there since 2003. You've supported us for 14 years now. This football season will be our 15th as we're about to start spring practice and get toward football season. So thank you, as always, for joining us. We have a packed show today. We're looking at the future of the Vol program in a lot of ways. We're talking John Curry's agenda, how big this spring is for Butch Jones, and then, of course, Rick Barnes. We're going to talk a lot about the UT basketball program, where it stands, where it's going. Let's dive right in. First segment of our program brought to you by, of course, Bill Hodson Associates. When you're injured in a car accident, it is serious business. So turn to the local attorneys who've taken it seriously for 30 years. Bill Hodson Associates, I know these folks. They are good people. Give them a shout. Write that website down. Go to their website, write their phone number down. If you find yourself the victim of an accident, then you deserve to be taken care of. And Bill Hodson Associates can help you do that. Okay. Want to welcome in the first round of panelists we have. Mark Pankratz, Jimmy Himes, Josh Ward, Chuck Cavaleris. This year Tennessee was picked for 13th in the SEC, but they wound up with the 9 seed in the SEC tournament in Nashville before they lost in the first round to Georgia. Let's take a look at what Rick Barnes has done. Very simple here, simple graphic. 15-19 his first year, 6-12 in the SEC. This year, 15-16. He's 16-16 if you count Chaminade, but that's not a D1 win. 8-10 in the SEC, so 2 games better than the SEC. Is this, and again, you outshot your expectations for preseason, but is this where you thought the program would be at the end of year 2? When they hired Rick Barnes, Mark Pankratz, Hall of Fame coach, you also had to look at what roster he was inheriting, et cetera. But is this where you thought they would be? You think they're a little ahead? Do you think they're a little behind?
I thought this is about where they would be. I thought year 2, you're coming off of losing Kevin Punter and Armani Moore, your 2 best players. So I figured from a record standpoint, this is where we'd be. The 2 things I thought would be different is, one, I thought our guard play would be better. Lamonte Turner was going to be the guy who was kind of going to be the savior coming in this year. And then you had Robert Hubbs. So I thought our guard play would be better. And then 2, I thought recruiting would be different. Although Barnes has said time and time again that his recruiting focus was going to be about laying a foundation, I just thought being able to recruit from one UT to the next UT, that you'd see some more 4-star, 5-star immediate impact guys, which Grant Williams turned out to be, but I thought our recruiting would be a little bit different.
Guys, your thoughts. Did you expect more, less, or you're right in the target zone of where you thought you'd be?
They're in the target zone of where I thought they would be. I actually thought they'd have a losing record this year, and they didn't, unless you take the Chaminade game into account. So they're about where I thought. I thought what he inherited was not very good at all. And all the transition Tennessee's had from Pearl to Conzo Martin to Tyndall to now, I just thought it would take a while to get this program back on pace. Now, I think for next year, I think they got a shot to be pretty good. But as far as the first 2 years, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, the results, I would say, are about what I expected with Tennessee this year. And that's, within SEC play, trying to climb up, probably a little better there. And that's partly because Missouri was much worse than I thought they would be, at least at that level, and same with LSU. But I'm probably more optimistic about what the future can be because of somebody like Grant Williams. I wouldn't have expected John Fulkerson to play that important of a role early, suffers the injury, and then we're talking about him coming back and playing a big role moving forward. So probably more optimistic about some of the freshman class compared to when they arrived.
Chuck.
Well, I think we hoped for more, didn't we? But I think this is about what we expected, was around a 500 team. But, I agree with what everything's been said. The recruiting hasn't really had the wow factor, has it?
No, I think if you were going to credit Rick Barnes for anything so far, he's maximized some of the guys you didn't expect to be, Grant Williams. I mean, he was not expected to be this level. Last year, Kevin Punter improved. You saw guys improve. They get Fulkerson, Lou Evans. He gets more out of these guys than you may think when you just look at the star ratings. The problem is it would be nice to have some guys who had the star ratings too. And I know coaches always talk about we don't need star ratings, 5-star Hart, for example. But the reality is I don't think anyone would say, I know he's a 5-star, but we don't want him. That would be very rare. So it would be nice to see that turn.
Yeah.
But as we had pointed out 2 years ago, if you go back and look at how he built Texas, and the people who covered him at Texas said he got guys who fit his system, that did the dirty stuff. They dove for loose balls. They did the hard work, the grunt work. And then he started getting the big stuff. Again, Kevin Durant, year 9 at Texas. Not exactly his first year.
Well, and I think the one thing that Barnes has done is, you talk about the foundation and the culture. You can watch that basketball team, and there's not very many coaches out there that have established roles for each guy like Coach Barnes has done. And I think that's a great sign as he can get some better guys talent-wise, and his guys get older and their skill does improve. That's where I think you look at next year and the following year where this team can start competing for the NCAA tournament.
Before, Jimmy, I'll get right to you. Let me put up a graphic first. Okay. This is just kind of a reminder. Barnes, in his previous rebuilding jobs, he was at George Mason for 1 year, never made it to the NCAA. It was 1 year. At Providence, he made his first NCAA bid in year 1, inherited a better deal. 3 tournaments in 6 years there. At Clemson, he made it in year 2 and went to 3 and 4 years. Made it in year 1 at Texas, again, inherited a better program, and went 16 out of 17 years down there. Hasn't been to 1 in 2 years here at Tennessee. Jimmy, you were going to say about Rick Barnes.
Well, while the record has not surprised me that much, the way they got there has a little bit, because I didn't think they would be up on North Carolina and have a great shot to beat a team that could be a number 1 seed. They played Oregon and Wisconsin really well. They played Gonzaga very well, and then they lose at LSU. So, and I think some of that could be attributed to youth. I think some of it could be attributed to some injuries, to Mostella being kicked off. So the way they arrived there was a little bit different, but there were moments where they looked like a really good basketball team.
How frustrating, how much do you think, I think we're being realistic here. I think a lot of fans are going to be realistic, not all. A lot of folks are going to cling to, and I don't think it's terrible to cling to it. They didn't end well. It ended poorly. Now, give them credit that they were down 16 on senior night after a losing streak and still managed to get off the floor and win it. And then you go lose to Georgia. And you've had guys sick and hurt and kicked off and everything else. But the way they finished, as much as you want to say, and I agree with you, boy, at times they played way over their heads. They ended so poorly, it kind of throws cold water on that, in my opinion. Does it or no?
I think the month of February should remind folks, and just down the stretch, that there is still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of young players that are not big-time talents. Again, Grant Williams' big freshman year, so there's a lot of optimism there. They did handle adversity well. Coming back in the second half against Alabama, that's at least a good sign that after playing poorly against LSU, they were still willing to fight. But I think the month of February and March, that's a reminder there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, and you look, 3 coaches in 4 years now? How many programs are going to go through that and in the second year really have a nice year, surprise some people? Who did you have on the bench that could come in, that last month and make a difference in the game? It seemed like every time he put somebody in, it went backwards.
Well, and Robert
Schofield's
Hubbs,
about the only one.
And Robert Hubbs with a bad knee, when you take him out, you just don't have another guy to throw in there that's going to play like Robert Hubbs when he's playing his best.
I think what's exciting about the struggles is that these are going to be great moments for you. Look at the end of that Georgia game, teaching moments, guys wanting the ball, wanting to take big shots, where to improve. Barnes is going to be able to use that all off season to help these guys improve for next year.
Next year, that's what we're going to talk about next. Next year, because we know what the expectation is. There are going to be people that say NCAA tournament or bust. It's year 3. We'll take a look at Tennessee compared to their SEC rivals. Later on, we're talking Butch Jones and Butch Jones. I almost messed up and said Bruce Pearl. Butch Jones and the spring practice that's about to get underway. Also going to take a look at John Curry's agenda. We got much more to come. Come on back.